Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumler House, here with the auspicious Charles Coulombe.
Now that is neat.
Yeah?
Auspicious. It means, well, it has several meanings, they're all benevolent. Especially when used toward the beginning of things. Gosh. And you know, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. A lot of stuff going on.
Yes, we do.
For starters, next week, well, today, this is Friday, as you know, we're living in the past, July 20th, amongst other things, is the anniversary of the great Count von Stauffenberg's attempt to duel Hitler. And the moon landing.
Wow.
I'm not old enough, ladies and gentlemen, to remember Stauffenberg, but he was dead 16 years before I was born. But I did see the moon landing in glorious black and white.
Your family huddled around the TV set?
We sure did.
Wow.
Sure did. Space food sticks in one hand, glasses of Tang in the other. Yep. This was great. It was a NASA triumph, you know. It was wonderful. Americans were the first men on the moon. We were going to be the forward leaders in space and all that kind of good stuff. And more than that, this coming week are two major feast days.
Okay.
St. Mary Magdalene, patroness of people who figure out where their bread's buttered and straighten up and fly right, and St. Anne, the mother of the Virgin Mary, the grandmother of our Lord. So, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared to celebrate this coming week. Plus, I have news.
Good news or bad news?
Well, as you know, we're giggling cocks.
Yes.
Many trolls have said this. And you know, for the trolls, I have good news and bad news.
Okay.
And I've cleared this with the suits, who are all very happy. Someone said they're not going to have to make any pretense with the fish anymore. Because with me gone, they can just say it's rotten and still serve it. So I feel good about that.
Okay.
But no, ladies and gentlemen, you will be happy or otherwise to know that Off the Menu is going off the air. Sayonara. Au revoir. See you later. Maybe. Oh God, no more. Bye-bye. Yes, it's coming to a glorious halt. No more. But that's the good news. There's bad news.
Uh-oh.
I wish I could say we were driven from the airwaves by the trolls and people of that nature. And if you are one of those folk, then we're glad to see the webosphere richer with the lack of two less giggling cucks. No such luck. I'm afraid it's not you guys. What has happened is that yours truly is departing this realm on August the 22nd. Getting in a plane, I'm flying away from the golden state of California to Europe. No, I'm not going to be leading a coup d'etat, in case anyone was wondering about that. No, nothing so wonderful. Rather more prosaic. I'm going to be studying for a master's in sacred theology. We'll see if I survive. Likelihood is, of course, I won't be able to keep up, and I'll be out of the program before a semester's gone by. But presuming that that doesn't happen, in 3 years' time, I'll be able to be not just dull, but dull and authoritative. However, I still have another book to write, which I'm going to write while I'm over there. And you can catch my columns at Catholicism.org, in the newly, soon-to-be-born Catholic Herald. If you guys do the lounge again, which you may be able to do.
I put them back up. It's up there in a different form.
Yeah, we could go back to that because with this gone, we'll have a little more time. And for those of you who are Facebook friends of mine and so on and so forth, That's all going to stay the same. Um, it's been a great 2 years. I've had a blast. I can't speak for anyone else, but I've enjoyed it. And we may resume, just depending upon when I return. Or, contrary-wise, if any of you out there in the global superhighway that is the World Wide Web, if you're close enough to Vienna and you've got a studio and you want to start this stuff up again, I'm game.
Vienna?
Yeah, Vienna or Bratislava or Budapest, anyway. We filtered it back here.
You're leaving this amazing place to go to that dump?
Yeah, I know. LA's older. The Imperial Palace downtown is much better than the Hofburg. Yeah, I know. I know, and you can get much better Café mit Schlag in the LA cafes. I'm aware.
You get to hang out with your buddies, the Austro-fascists.
Yeah, well, that's true. And more giggling cucks.
Yeah.
And the Viennese Jews.
The Viennese Jews.
There aren't many left, but we'll find something happened. I don't know what. They actually though there is an old Austrian joke about that. I don't know if it'll translate well. I'll tell it in English, but I don't know if you'll find it funny enough. We'll try it. We'll see. This Jewish guy from rural Austria comes to Vienna. Never been there before. Doesn't know anything about the big city. And he goes into a Viennese coffee house. Now that's a big part of Viennese culture, of these coffee houses. And he sees a man in black tie, whom you would recognize as a waiter, but he has no idea who this guy is. And he's walking through the length of the coffee house. And people are shouting things at him, and he's writing them down. But as he gets up close enough, he hears the one guy shriek at him, "Cappuccino!" It means cappuccino.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else yells at him, "Benedictina!" which means Benedictine, the liqueur. So he doesn't know what else to say. When the guy gets up there, he goes, "Rabbiner?"
Okay.
Well, he didn't know, That's Viennese coffee house culture. But seriously, there is also, ladies and gentlemen, from the brilliant minds up on the 39th floor, which is Extraordinary and Unexpected Promotion Department, with the Senior Vice President in charge of Unexpected Promotions, Stuart Maitland. He's a nice man. They've come up with a brilliant idea for a new promotion before I'm shed of that. Before we separate, and that is if you order a book, any of my books, from Tumblr House before, what was the date they gave us?
August 15th?
August 15th. If you'll do that, ladies and gentlemen, then I will sign it. Obviously, I can't promise anything after that date, because that'll be a week before I have to leave, so I may be busy with other things. In any case, let me just say that we've got several more episodes ready, after this. So it's not like this is the last one by any means. I think the last one will probably appear on the 20th.
I think 22nd, is that Monday? If
22nd is Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Okay, okay, then 20th, you're right.
The 20th. So on the 20th, we'll have our last episode, so be sure to tune in for that. Let's see, anything else I can tell you that'll be amusing? Oh, yeah. While I'll be flying to Brussels initially, are you ready for this?
Ready.
I have an hour layover in Iceland.
Have you ever been there before?
Not really.
You excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. A whole hour in Iceland, yeah. And all you Nordic alt-right types out there, well, you'll see Iceland is a great example of inbreeding. Certainly a lot better than Appalachia.
Whoa.
What?
Inbreeding?
Inbreeding.
Just calling all the Icelanders inbred?
Yeah, who are they going to breed with? They were isolated for a very long time. Longer than Appalachia. And they're more attractive than Appalachians. Well, as a rule, I've seen some attractive Appalachian people at hog calling contests and things like that. And
did you say hog calling contests?
Yeah.
That's where all the attractive people hang out in Appalachia?
Oh, the attractive Appalachians, yeah.
Okay.
You don't go to Hong Kong?
No, I guess not.
Shad planking?
What?
You don't do shad planking.
What is that?
Well, it's more, actually it's not Appalachia at all, it's more Tidewater, Virginia. But they basically take these fish that are native there, the shad,
Yeah.
and they cook them on planks of wood. And everybody turns out in the neighborhood, and local politicians campaign. It's very exciting. You don't seem the slightest bit impressed.
I'm kind of impressed. I don't know. It's just why on planks? I don't understand.
Well, because it gives the burning wood gives the fish a kind of flavor. At least that's what the shad plankers say. I mean,
Okay.
I have to admit my tasting of the shad was not. I wasn't knocked away by it. It wasn't Pompano and Papillote or something. But anyway, so. No, but I mean, if the Icelanders don't mind me being there for an hour, I don't mind being there with them.
Okay.
All right. So, at any rate, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we've got ahead of us. I would be lying if I told you that I was completely happy in ending the show. I'm not, of course. I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to miss your comments, even your questions, even when they were annoying.
Why do you hate us so much?
Well, as a giggling cuck, I feel. No, I mean, honestly, the trolls are always a small minority.
For our full episodes, the trolls never come out on the full episodes because that's our loyal crowd. That's your loyal crowd right there.
Yeah.
They're always very nice. It's always those mini segments I put out
We get
on
excited.
like the Kingdom of Hawaii. Like, why are you so pro-U.S. on the Kingdom? Stuff like weird, or those occultists for
I remember.
Montague Summers. Those people who like Montague Summers but hate the Catholic faith. All
Yeah,
those people.
and he would have been the first one to say they're going to hell. Oh, speaking of which, thank you for reminding me. I completely forgot. On an earlier episode, I made some comments regarding the Swedish rite of Freemasonry. And I received a communication from a gentleman who's in a position to know, who assures me that the Swedish rite is no longer anything like what it was, and that it's quite as objectionable as the others. I, of course, have no direct knowledge of these things, never having been a member of any Masonic order. Though I have been to the National Museum and worshipped at the feet of George Washington, as every good American does. But, I defer to those who know better than me. So, there's that correction. So.
You worship George Washington?
I don't have to, I'm an American. Although when I fly across the ocean, that worship will cease.
Oh, okay.
See you later. So long. It's been good to know you. Yes.
Okay.
No, I leaving my native land. It's a good thing I was able to stay until the 4th of July at least.
Yeah. You won't quite get to see the leaves turn.
No. And I will probably, I will probably miss the first Halloween stuff in the stores.
Oh, right.
Though I may not, because the 22nd's late in August.
Yeah.
And late August is when they first start showing. This, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're curious what we're going on about, this is an annual ritual for all those of us here in the know, which is every year, the Halloween decorations, like the Christmas decorations, come out a little earlier. But for the past few years, it's sort of mid to late August is when the Halloween stuff starts coming out. Which on the one hand I kind of dislike because I love Halloween being like the end of October and stuff. But on the other hand, in the LA heat, seeing jack-o'-lanterns and autumn leaves of plastic, it kind of reminds you that there is cool weather somewhere and more to come. The downside with having all the Christmas stuff coming out in September is that you have this weird Nightmare Before Christmas thing in so many stores where one row is all Halloween stuff and the row next to it is all Christmas, and you're standing between it like a moron, and Thanksgiving gets completely forgotten.
It's hard to market it, unless you're a turkey seller.
Well, the supermarkets have displays, but the others, because there used to be, for Thanksgiving, they'd sell like these scarecrows and signs saying Happy Thanksgiving. And also and Indian corn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A good deal of stuff that was repurposed from Halloween. You know, everything you'd have at the Halloween party, you just take the pumpkins away.
Okay.
That could go to Thanksgiving, the whole harvest festival thing. But a lot of that's gone. You know, and of course this year I won't be carving a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh.
And if I don't come back for Christmas, I won't be setting up a Christmas tree. So that's kind of annoying.
What's Europe's Halloween? We were talking about this a couple episodes back.
Well,
in
June. St. John's Eve. Because I'll probably be here for that.
Oh, that's
I'll be there for Halloween and here for St. John's Eve. Best of both worlds. And that's the other thing too, ladies and gentlemen. We may come back to this in the summer. I don't know.
Okay.
If you feel like it.
Yeah, I'm always interested in.
We may be a senior suit by that time. You won't have any time for this kind of nonsense. Eating at the executive lunchroom. No more commissary for you. No more magic fish. You're not going to miss that one bit, are you?
Oh, well, I might do this pro bono.
Yeah.
I'm a man of the people, Charles.
Oh, yeah, the right people. That's fine. Gosh. No, all right. Well, I mean, if you're up for it, I'll be up for it. And
Okay.
if the suits don't mind giving us this space on the floor. You know, I told the secretarial pool that I was leaving today.
What was their reaction?
Weeping and gnashing of teeth. They were sorry to see me go. Mr. Martinez and the custodial staff weren't happy. The motor pool weren't happy. I felt good about that.
Yeah.
They felt that they had, I think, sort of an advocate before the suits.
Yeah. Well, you almost started an uprising, so there's that.
Well, there is that. Maybe that's one reason I'm going to Austria. But at any rate, I must say they did have a very special lunch today in the commissary.
Yeah.
No fish. It was all pasta.
Okay.
No, it was great. It was linguine alfredo with a side of macaroni, tomato macaroni. That was the side dish.
Tomato macaroni.
Well, tomato sauce.
Oh, okay.
With Alfredo linguine
Okay.
as the major course.
Is there a catch?
Well, the vegetable was mashed potato.
That's pretty weird.
Starch, starch, and starch.
Yeah.
Well, they told me...
Dr. Atkins is turning over in his grave right now.
I think so. I think so. You should have seen the toast they gave me. It's garlic bread.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Anyway, it was all starch for lunch today. So, but enough of this nonsense. These people don't want to hear this rot. They want to hear the questions.
That's right.
All right, what do we got?
All right, first question is from Anthony Giovacchini. Despite what Protestants say, Catholics are encouraged to read the Holy Bible. However, we can't come up with our own private interpretations of the Scriptures.
True.
What are some good sources to have that help us to understand the Bible within the teaching of the Church?
Well, there are a number, but I suppose the two best, if you get your hands on the Haydock Bible, which is a tall order, but if you can, the Haydock Bible has probably the best biblical commentary I've ever read, because it's mostly drawn from the Church Fathers, the Church Councils, and papal definitions. Failing that, if you can get an old Douay Rheims Bible, their commentaries aren't so hugely intensive.
Now, the Haydock is the Douay Rheims Bible with the commentary, right?
Right, with
Yeah.
lots of commentary.
Yeah.
Whereas in the regular Douay Rheims, the commentary is reduced, but it's still helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my recommendation.
Okay. Second question is from Luke. Why did the Protestants never develop a contemplative tradition like the great Catholic mystics, Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross?
Well, they did, sort of, kind of, in here and there, in the sense that, in Lutheranism, for instance, about the 1580s, you had a man called Johann Arndt, who was very much like that.
Like what?
Contemplative,
Oh.
and very much in liturgical prayer and all that, in a way that, Lutherans kept a lot of liturgical stuff. but they didn't use it the way Catholic monastics and mystics and all that will. But Arndt did. And he had, images of Our Lady and things like that.
Wow.
And he had a sort of a disciple about a century later called Philip Spener, who founded something called Pietism. The English quasi-branch of that movement was Methodism, founded by Charles Wesley, John Wesley. Well, the thing is, though, that kind of Protestant contemplative prayer was really not connected to the Protestant church orders, the church governances that they had. Part of this was because most of them in Europe were in the hands of the state. And if you wanted to get away from that, then you had to form what were called one of the free churches. But these were very nebulous in terms of government. Another group like that, although it didn't start out that way, was the Moravians, whom you may have heard. They predate the Reformation, actually, but they ended up becoming very heavily influenced by the Pietists. And so personal prayer became a big deal with them and so forth.
They're Protestants that predate the Reformation? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, they were a heretical sect that predated the Reformation.
Oh.
But they survived into the Reformation times and got sort of Protestantized.
I see. Okay.
Like the Waldenses in Italy, who have united with the Methodists in Italy. Anyway, the Waldenses also have the dubious honor of being the only heresy I know of founded by lay people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you always say it's always a priest.
Or as a priest, or a cleric of some kind.
Yeah.
John Calvin was an ordained subdeacon. So,
okay.
well, I mean, the friend of mine who's a subdeacon, who was ordained an Orthodox subdeacon, has become Catholic, and now he's what they call an Institute Acolyte. But I always send him a note on John Calvin's birthday, congratulating him on his patronal festival.
Yeah, yeah.
For Calvin being the patron of subdeacons.
Yeah.
But no, so they do have a tradition of contemplative prayer of sorts, but there has never been a place for it within the Protestant hierarchy, shall we say, at all analogous to the way contemplative prayer is amongst Catholics. I mean, with us, there's always the acknowledgement that the monastic orders are superior, and that their work, that the rest of us, in a sense, almost exists to keep them going. I mean, mind you, their work of prayer is necessary for us to keep going. So, I mean, it's not a one-way street, but still, they have a pride of place in the Catholic establishment that the similar sorts of things just don't in Protestantism. Part of the reason for that, too, was that getting rid of monasticism was a big part of the Reformation. Well, what's the whole point of monasticism? It's being able to devote all your time to prayer. Now, getting rid of people like that is part of your movement. What will happen is that eventually the natural human need for some people to do that will surface. And so it did in Protestantism. But again, you had people like Jacob Burmer and Angelus Silesius and all that, who he converted to Catholicism later. These guys were always oddballs and odd ducks in the Protestant matrix.
Interesting.
So.
It seems like Protestants, they don't really have devotions.
Well, they do. It's just that, again, they're Protestants and they're Protestants. Anglicans, of course, the Anglo-Catholics are like us and almost identical, but the Lutherans tend to be more so. They have evening prayer and morning prayer. Some of them even venerate saints.
Oh, okay.
But there's no standard issue as there is with us.
Yeah.
So the Protestant has to decide for himself, or find a denomination that fits what he thinks is correct. How is he going to deal with the Virgin Mary? Is he going to pray to her or ignore her? How's he going to deal with the saints? What about the sacraments? The place of the Eucharist and his personal devotion. Obviously, if he joins a group that claims the apostolic succession, and offers the Blessed Sacrament at least weekly, that's one thing. If he joins another group that sees it as a mere commemoration and offers it 3 times a year, that's a whole other thing. So the Protestant has to determine entirely for himself what that devotion is going to consist of.
I see. That's hard.
That is hard.
Okay. Okay. Next question is from Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I've had thoughts about joining the priesthood, but not sure when to enter seminary. I'm currently currently a junior in high school. Should I go to college first or to seminary right after high school? What is the best order for a priest who wants to be a teacher? Are the Piarists a good order for a priest who wants to teach?
Well, the problem is a lot of the answers to those questions are bound up with who you personally are. And I don't know you. So that makes it a little hard. The Piarists, I only know by history and reputation. What they're like now, I have no idea. And when you say you want to teach, you mean, are we talking about teaching in college, seminary? These are all imponderables. And I also don't know, for instance, where you are liturgically. Obviously, if you're a hidebound traditionalist, then you want to go to the Fraternity of St. Peter or to the Institute of Christ the King, Sovereign Priest, or maybe the dreaded SSPX. But if you're not, if you're more open to the so-called ordinary form, then that opens up a whole range of things. The Dominicans, for instance, who as an order are improving tremendously, to include reincorporating their old rite that sort of disappeared after Vatican II. It's getting more and more popular. The Dominicans are certainly, from all I can tell, improving. So that might be a good way to go. Now, as to whether you should go to college first or not, that would depend a great deal upon the wishes of the order you're interested in, to be honest with you. Some orders prefer you get a secular education and then come to them with all that out of your system. Others say, no, come to us straight away so we can start forming you while you're young. That depends entirely on the order. And so, I'm sorry I can't be more help to you, but I hope that does something for you.
Okay, next question. What are your thoughts on the Rastafari religion and Robert Nesta Marley, also known as Bob Marley? What do the Orthodox Ethiopians think of them?
Oh, man, it was all Babylon, man, all Babylon. One day Rastafari gonna come, take us all back to Zion. You'll see. What?
Okay. That's your Rastafari impression?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I can't be a Rasta.
Sure you can.
A white man is not permitted to be a Rastafari.
That's true. You don't see a lot of white Rastafarians, do you?
Look at my cornrows.
What?
My cornrows.
Cornrows.
Whatever they are.
Are you talking about the haircut?
Yeah. Look at this big mass of hair on my head. Doesn't that proclaim me to be a Rastafarian?
No. That's very superficial, Charles.
Look! Can't you see? It's huge!
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
I didn't know that was required for admittance into the Rastafari religion.
Now you have this gigantic cornrows all over your head.
Okay.
Then you gotta have a Jamaican accent, man. Irie.
Okay.
Then you gotta know the mythology. And the mythology was sort of borrowed from Marcus Garvey. Basically, the Rastafarians hold that the Grand Eden was in Africa. And that the fall, one of the things that result of the fall was that the Edenites were put under the rule of the white man. Now, depending upon whom you talk to, for some, the white men are a hybrid race, created when an Edenite woman looked at the moon and fell in love. For others, they're just demons. But At any rate, one day Rastafari is going to come and take all of us Rastafarians from this Babylon, which is what the white man's world is called, and he'll take us all back to Zion.
Who is the deity of the Rastafari religion?
Rastafari.
Oh, Rastafari?
Yeah, who was known in later life as Haile Selassie, the last emperor of Ethiopia.
I feel so terrible about Haile Selassie.
He was Haile Selassie.
I mean,
There's more Selassie
how
than
did he
most.
get wrapped up into this? The poor guy is a devout Orthodox
Christian, yes.
and he ends up being this guy in a just totally random religion? How
Well,
does
it's
that
not
happen?
random. You see, what happened was this. In the 1920s, even the West Indies, they were doing better than the States. In the 1920s, especially the wake of World War I, there was a whole movement, firstly a realization of the dominated role most blacks played in North America, in the Caribbean. And as compared to that, as compared to Jim Crow and segregation and all that stuff, here was a black emperor, a monarch, whom all the kings of the earth respected.
Okay.
You see?
I see where this is going.
Yeah. So, one day, they deified him and said that one day he would take them all back, basically to Ethiopia, to Zion.
I mean, sure, I'm almost 100% sure he said, "I'm not your God."
Yes, on several occasions. But, you know, they didn't believe him. Now, Bob Marley, who's the best known Rasta in this country anyway, and mind you, although it's a little different now because they bring in tourist money, but back in the day, most Jamaicans had a very low opinion of Rastas.
Really? Why?
Oh, gosh. Well, they didn't work. They don't, you know, they just begged. They smoked pot all day, sat around with their hair like mine.
Yeah, like yours, yeah.
You know, the big cornrows. And so they, you know, I would ask Jamaican people, well, what do you think of the Rastas? Oh man, we call them unemployed, or we call them bums, or we call them, you know. But Bob Marley, of course, became the great interpreter of Rastafarian culture and music to the Western world. However, on his deathbed, he was received into the Ethiopian Orthodox Church by an Ethiopian Orthodox priest. Because that's one thing the Ethiopians did. They used the spread of Rastafarianism as a way to spread Ethiopian Orthodoxy. And a lot of folk who were just plain everyday garden variety Rastas were brought into the Orthodox Church that way.
Okay.
So, there you go.
Two things. Okay, I don't know what you're saying, cornrows or corn rolls.
Either one,
You're saying
who cares?
Okay, now, Rastafarians don't do cornrows, okay? Cornrows is sort of an American black thing that I first saw from the NBA star Allen Iverson, where it's very, very tightly braided, and it goes along, and there are sort of channels.
No, that's what I've got.
I've never seen a Rastafarian with... Now, the Rastafarian cliche is dreadlocks.
Yeah, that's it.
Dreadlocks. Now,
That's what I've
see,
got.
that's what I was trying... Cornrows is very
Yeah,
different.
it's
not bulky.
dreadlocks I'm wearing.
Okay. Dreadlocks.
These
There
are
we
dreadlocks.
go. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So,
Dreadlocks.
so you're dreadlocks. Yeah, clearly,
Yeah.
clearly those are dreadlocks. Yeah.
Okay. Man, how you know a Rasta if I don't wear no dreadlocks, huh? What? You are so confused.
I am. I'm
Gosh.
sorry.
Honestly. Now, as far as Haile Selassie himself goes, he was a pretty great man in his day, in his way. He came to a horrible end because he was overthrown in 1974 by a communist revolution, and he died the next year. When they exhumed his body 20 years later, they found that literally every bone in his body had been broken. They tortured that poor old man, who was like 87, by beating him to death. And not quickly.
That's sad. That's very sad.
It's criminal. And the people responsible for it, if any of them are still alive, they deserve to be shot in a trial of some kind. Maybe beheaded. Just a horrible, horrible story. So he came to a bad end.
Okay, next question is from Teddy. Who was Melchizedek? Why is he so important? Where did he come from? What is the origin of the term, "You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek"?
Well, Melchizedek was a priest of the Most High God, living in Salem, which we think was Jerusalem, at the time that Lot and Abraham and all them were encountering Sodom and Gomorrah. Interestingly enough, Salem was a political ally of both the Hebrews and Sodom and Gomorrah. Melchizedek was a priest of the Most High God and offered bread and wine.
Well, in the Old Testament?
In the Old Testament.
Wow, that was...
In Genesis.
Wow.
And he predates the Mosaic priesthood. He predates... he's basically... He was a priest of the first religion of mankind.
That seems like an unacceptable sacrifice back then, because that wasn't the body and blood of Christ. Or was it?
It wasn't acceptable in the sense that it didn't redeem the human race, did it? But it was acceptable in the sense that it was a foreshadowing of what would come.
Interesting.
And they would distinguish the priesthood of Melchizedek, which was in a sense more powerful and non-hereditary, from the priesthood of Aaron. But he's a mysterious figure.
I think the thing that's going on in my mind is a priest, when a priest is doing a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so when you say bread and wine, I think what triggered in my head is there's no sacrifice there.
Well, there is in the sense that they were destroyed. You pour out the wine, you burn the bread, and do whatever he did with it.
Okay.
The thing is, though, that he was seen as typifying Christ.
Yeah.
And the Christian priesthood. Again, not being hereditary, not offering up bloody sacrifices. The bit about "You're a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek," in the New Testament, you see Melchizedek spoken of by St. Paul as a sort of forerunner of the Christian priesthood and a forerunner of Christ. So
I kind of had the impression that he was this sort of mysterious, ethereal figure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did he have like a definite timeline? Like, oh yeah, born around this time, died around this time. He's sort of all over the place.
It was around the time that Lot and Abraham encountered Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay.
So, not Abraham, sorry, I keep saying Abraham, I meant Noah.
Oh, Noah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, wait a minute, I did mean Abraham.
Yeah.
My mind is really gone.
That's okay.
Anyway, you wait till my age.
Yeah.
And also, I'm suffering from my brother called short-timer's disease.
What is that?
Well, when you're about to ship out in a few weeks, your attention to details of your regular job tends to lessen.
I see.
Because you're sitting here at, say, San Diego Naval Base, and all you can think of is the fact that in a month you're going to be in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And so your work suffers.
Yeah.
So that's called short-timer's disease.
Okay, well that makes sense.
All right. What else we got?
Oh, also, just gratuitous plug, this is a novel by one of the best authors you don't know, Jeffrey Teal, The Search for Melchizedek. This is a novel. I'm actually about halfway through this. This has been an excellent read so far. So, this plug, he actually has a lot of great philosophy books. We have like 9 of his philosophy articles on our lounge, on our blog. All excellent, taken from his philosophy book. So, Jeffrey Teal, Search for Melchizedek. Okay, next question is from Catholic New Englander. Do you believe that there is intelligent life on other planets? What would the existence of aliens mean to the Catholic faith?
I'm not sure there's intelligent life on Earth, firstly.
Uh-oh.
But, I'm very agnostic in this area. I don't think so, but maybe, who knows, I don't. Even though I went to college in Roswell, New Mexico.
You're right. Yeah, okay.
Site of the famous UFO crash.
Yeah.
When people ask me, well, what do you know about that? I always say, everyone talks about the UFO that crashed. They never think about the one that completed its mission.
Okay. Does that actually ever creep anyone out?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay.
I mean, I try to do it as a joke, but for some people who it's really, really into it,
Yeah.
it's not a joking matter. You know, it'd be like you're coming back from, I don't know, Lourdes and saying you'd had some sort of a healing. You know, some people would say, oh, really? But others say, really? Because there are healings there.
Yes.
You know, so you can see why someone would be serious about that. And when you think how much money people spend to go out to the Renaissance Hotel out in the desert for the annual Contact in the Desert event, there's a lot of money in UFOs. Lots. We did have the family DNA done, and I suspected we are primarily human.
Primarily human?
Yeah. 62%. Easy.
Yeah, what about that other 38?
Elves, aliens.
Elves, aliens.
You know, non-specific mermen. So, you know, but we are primarily human, even as we've always thought. So you can trust us. At any rate, seriously, personally, I believe that if there's anything to the UFO contactee, abductee phenomenon, I think it's like, if these things exist, that they're more akin to the fairy abductions of the Middle Ages. In other words, if this race exists, they're not from out there, they're from somewhere here. And that's a big if. When I was a boy, of course, my imagination was taken by the idea of Mars as an inhabited planet, you know, that fell on hard times.
Okay.
Well, no, because...
Yeah, famine and hard times.
And the lack of water and all that, and the growing deserts. I mean, that was the Mars of Edgar Rice Burroughs and Ray Bradbury.
Oh, right.
That was the Mars I grew up with. That was the Mars I really hoped to see. The Mars of Lynn Carter. That Mars. I'm afraid Mars really isn't like that, which is sad. It's really too bad. I would have loved Mars to be that way. What kind of a challenge is the do aliens pose the church? Well, Pius XII wrote an interesting letter on this very topic. So I recommend that you look up Pius XII extraterrestrials. But he pointed out that a lot would depend upon whether or not that race was fallen. And he said basically he could imagine races that were intelligent and fallen, unintelligent and fallen, intelligent and unfallen, unintelligent and unfallen.
That's surprising that a pope would write on this. What prompted that? Was there any sort of catalyst to
The
that?
50s? Oh, gosh, yes. People were going on and on about it all the time. But, you know, he made it very clear that the first question, if we ever encountered a race, was have they fallen?
Right.
And if they were fallen, has God made any kind of a arrangement for them?
Oh, I mean, okay, that's interesting.
In other words, will they be saved through Christ, or will they be saved in some other manner?
Are animals technically fallen?
No, they're part of fallen nature, which is why they'll damage us. But they're not personally fallen as each of us are until we're baptized.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, next question is from Nate. Does Charles have any advice for Catholics going into the U.S. military, both officers and enlisted?
Don't. I don't mean that quite as blanket necessarily as it sounds. Although, if I were in a position to want to go into the military today, I don't know that I could, because of what it's become and what it is becoming as the fora for the ruling class's social experimentation. What can I tell you? I mean, if you go in to the military, traditionally there were always some tremendous temptations endemic to the military. But there are also chaplaincies, and in my experience, military chaplains are either very fine or horrible. There's really nothing in between. And I think the very fine ones probably outnumber the horrible ones. So,
Wait, the fine ones outnumber the horrible ones?
I would guess, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
In
good.
the chaplaincy, yeah, of course it's good. So, well, so the army, unlike the church, the army need people that are actually useful and do their job.
Yeah.
And the job of the chaplain is to give the individual sufficient spiritual resources that he can fight. Whereas in a parish, it doesn't matter as long as the guy's getting paid. So.
Okay.
But you've got some real bad ones too, because some people go into the military chaplaincy because they're just too awful for the outside. So,
oh, okay.
but they are, thankfully, I think they're a fairly small minority. In any case, get to know your chaplain. You know, get to know live your faith as well as you can. They're usually Catholic communities on every military post, so get in touch with them.
That's all the advice? Get to know your chaplain?
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, normally, if we had a different sort of military, I'd urge you to buy the Soldier's Prayer Book, which is floating around, the Marines Prayer Book, to learn about chivalry and all that, and to bear in mind that the Catholic soldier is the modern equivalent, in a lot of ways, of a knight. So, I mean, I'd call on you to look at all that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much it.
Okay.
What we got?
Next thing we got is the book. We're done with the
We've
questions.
done questions. Wow. No one cares.
We're going to go a different direction on this book. You know, we've done a lot of spirituality, a lot of history. We haven't done anything, any sort of modern issues, getting updated and modern things. The Dictator Pope.
Uh-oh.
By,
dun, dun, dun.
by Mark Antonio Colonia.
That's not his real name.
Yes, the author came out. You knew this guy before he even came out.
I did. And I figured it was he as soon as I read excerpts, because I know the man's, you're not hiding anything, it's on the back cover. I know the man's style, I know his great erudition, and what they said about the fellow was that he was a product of Oxford who was close to the Holy See and knew what he spoke about. I thought, you know, Henry Sire was at the time the historian of the Order of Malta. He lived in the Palace of Malta. Product of Oxford. I've read a lot of his stuff, so I knew his writing style. I knew that he would have to be close to the Holy See without working for it directly. He fit everything. But I would never have been so presumptuous as to ask him, or put him on the spot. And you know, he revealed himself, and I can only presume, knowing him as I do, that he had a particular purpose in mind, I don't know what it was, for revealing himself at the time and in the way he did. But it's a scathing indictment of the Holy Father and the gang of perverts that put him in.
Yeah, I've been wanting to read this book ever since it came out. I finally got it, and I just started reading it. The first chapter is on the St. Gallen Mafia, which was interesting. I mean, these guys are pretty open about their opposition to Ratzinger and then later, you know, Pope Benedict.
Yeah, they are. They're very open, and also Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels. They just quote Daniels straight up about this mafia.
And see, Daniels was the guy when a brother bishop of his in Belgium was molesting his own nephew.
Yeah.
The nephew came to Daniels for advice, and Daniels said, "Oh no, for the good of the church, don't say anything." See, that is the kind of creature that is dominant today in the church.
Yeah.
But, as I believe he goes on to point out, Francis is not simply their stooge.
Yeah, they're unhappy.
They're very unhappy.
Yeah.
Because he's his own man, you know, whatever that means, he's it.
Who are some of these other people in the mafia? I haven't even gotten to this yet, but this looks like Martini.
Cardinal Martini.
And obviously, we kind of all knew this one,
Cardinal Casper, yeah, the real schmuck.
So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I wanted this because I don't feel like we actually know what's going on. The sort of journalism that's I'm encountering, like, nobody has somehow even asked Pope Francis, are you going to answer the dubia? Which should be the most obvious, basic question on the list, and somehow we're not getting that.
Well, he won't answer it. There's no answer he could possibly make that would do anybody any good, let alone him. But I mean, the media at this point love him. But
because but do they love him just because he's ratings? Because everybody is incited.
No.
Whenever there's something mentioned.
Well, every time he opens his mouth, he lets drop some attention.
Yeah, like you didn't have that really with Pope Benedict or John Paul. They didn't have this sort of incitement.
No, all they would do is repeat some element of the faith.
And that's boring.
It's very boring. There's this guy, you never know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Catch my act at the Palladium next Thursday. He might, you don't know.
Yeah, so, and anything else? Anything else to say on the...
Well, I mean, I don't want to go in on a tour of Pope bashing.
Yeah, of course.
However much you might enjoy it himself.
This is your... Charles writes for the Herald, so this is like his
do.
new thing. A blurb from the Herald. The Dictator Pope draws on a wide range of material, including confidential sources within the Vatican. Much of the book consists of close analysis of the various controversies which have characterized Francis's time in office, including the Family Synod, the reform of the Vatican finances, and the dispute over the Knights of Malta. The author claims that the Pope has become unaccountable and that the atmosphere within the Vatican is primarily one of fear. Now, I have to admit, too, one thing, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, this book, because obviously this is coming from a disgruntled person. I mean, this is probably retribution for the Malta thing. To some extent. Is it?
Not really, because firstly, he wrote another book, which I have to recommend very highly, called Phoenix from the Ashes.
Okay.
He started working on this before the Malta debacle.
Okay.
When he started writing it, it seemed as though Malta was a sovereign order, safe from being molested. But as we know about molesters of all kinds, they can get their fingers in places you wouldn't expect them to. And so happened here. And to be fair, it was because of pre-existing disputes within the order that the Holy Father was able to get control of it. And I think, like the St. Coulombe group, the side he backed in the Order of Malta is probably a little bit of buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
But it's too late. As my late father used to say, when you're stupid, bad things happen.
Yeah. But so one other thing I'll just say about this book, the thing that I was worried about, I was worried it was going to be speculative and it was going to go off conjecture.
Yeah.
But so far from what I've read, it's really solid. It's straight from the horse's mouth, to be honest. At least when it comes to the St. Gallen Mafia. I mean, they're just drawing from quotes on what they want to do, which is basically in their own way destroy the church. They wouldn't say that, but I would say that.
And they might not even think that.
They might not even think that, right?
I mean, it's like the sort of thing. It's like the sort of thing you've seen in 1,000 science fiction pictures, where the robot intelligence wants to make man perfect.
Yeah.
But in so doing, he'll destroy him.
Yeah.
Because the robot's idea of what's perfect and real perfection might be very different. So similarly, when you've got a man like Cardinal Daniels, who thinks that it's better for a molested lad not to report his bishop uncle for the good of the church. All right, now that's a view of the good of the church.
Right.
That's a particular view. Now, having said that, the fact that the kid himself, his faith will probably die, that did not bother him. But see, the loss of faith amongst Catholics is nowhere near of interest to those guys. Not the way the external appearance is. And the external appearance is the church has got to be quote-unquote relevant. And what that means to say is au courant with whatever the masters of this world of ours are up to. Basically, they sort of reverse our Lord's words. They would be of this world, but not in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they consider that to be a good thing, not a bad thing. I mean, Hitler thought he was doing a wonderful job. So did Stalin. When you're that corrupt and that stupid, and that into your own view, you can't see anything else.
Yeah.
Al Capone considered himself a humanitarian.
Pablo Escobar too.
Yeah. See, Don Gotti. You know.
Yeah.
It's these guys. When you swallow your own BS, ladies and gentlemen, you are on your road to hell. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And it's the temptation that's held out for all of us in many different ways. The next time, if you're ever tempted to do this, and many people aren't, but if you ever are, to say something along the lines of, I'm a good person. Don't do that. Call no man good, says our Lord, and that includes us ourselves. Just look at the terrible things we do. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm never at a loss for words in the confessional. I've always got something to say.
I know, yeah.
And if I were as wonderful as I think I am, that would never be the case, would it?
Yeah.
But these guys like Daniels and all that, they have no conscience because they're already perfect. They don't need one. No, it's a sad thing. But speaking of sad things, we're not at the end of the era yet.
No, well, yeah. So we got a couple more episodes.
And we plan to live them up. You do too. Get in questions, ladies and gentlemen. Sublime, wonderful questions, preferably things that I can answer easily that'll make me look good.
Yes.
Well, questions like, Dear Mr. Coulombe, why are you so wonderful? And I can hold forth on that at great length.
We haven't gotten that yet for some reason.
No, we haven't got anything like that. Oh, and trolls. Speaking here as the giggling cucks, send something. You know, I'll make you a promise. The worst question any of you guys send in, we will read on the air.
Will we? Is that you have authorization to do that?
Yes, from the top.
Okay.
The worst question. However, you may not like the answer. It may have to do with your arrested internal development, whether physical or mental or spiritual. It may have to do with your maturity level, testosterone perhaps. I really can't be held responsible for the answer.
Okay.
But the worst question we get will be read, and I may answer it if I don't enjoy it too much.
Okay, I'll have to remember that. Okay, pick the worst question we've ever received. Okay, got it.
No, when they're on the spot like that, they may not be able to do it.
Okay.
I mean, where before, one of them might have been happy to write in, why are you guys such big dum-dums? Being singled out like this. I mean, and here we've got something from Barbie the Troll. Okay, Barbie, what do we got here? Why are you such a numbskull? Well, Barbie, why are you white trash? I don't know. These things happen.
We got a bunch of those comments on last episode. A bunch of people saying, "Oh, go ahead and skip, minutes 25 to 43 because it's just gobbledygook. It's just a bunch of." They didn't like how you handled the Jewish question.
Wow. No. It's Gate Sumir.
What?
It's Gate Sumir. It comes to me. Ein bisschen Yiddish. A little Yiddish.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't like the way I dealt with the Jewish problem, I will simply repeat to you the great words of one of my favorite rabbis.
Okay.
No, he's an ordained rabbi. Not Eddie Fisher. What is his name? He came to Mel Gibson's defense, and I've suddenly drawn a blank. I can see his face.
Jackie Mason?
Yes. The great Rabbi Jackie Mason. who said, and I address this to all of our critics, Schmeckele, don't you cry. One day you'll grow up to be a big, fat schmuck.
Okay, that's a good one to know. Okay, so...
Because I gotta tell you, he also founded Jews for Christmas.
Oh, yes.
And his tagline was, you know, they are the majority. Maybe we should let them have a holiday. What do you think?
I like Jackie Mason.
I do too. It's great.
Okay, so Dictator Pope on the Tumblr House website for $25. I'll be reading it. Charles has gotten a copy. He'll be reading it. So buy a book. We'll read it all together and enjoy it.
As we sing our song joyfully. No?
I don't know that song.
It's the 60s. It's all right.
60s. Okay.
Well, in the next few weeks, we've got the time that we have left together. And until we part, thanks for being a part of the last 2 years. And we will continue to try to entertain you over the next 3 weeks.
See you then.
Ciao. And remember, if it's off the menu, for the moment anyway, it's Monday.
If it's Monday, it's off the menu. You butchered it, Charles.
I'm sorry.
What is it?
That's punishment.
Oh, okay.
They don't need to see this.
No.
God bless. Take care, guys.
All right.